So my name is Guy Hargreaves. I'm 53 and I got into performing and acting quite a long time ago, I suppose. The reason I wanted to be an actor is growing up in the 70s, I saw the movie Grease with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, and and I just remember watching that and seeing John Travolta dancing up and down on the bonnet of a car, and I just wanted to do that. I didn't realise it was a kind of job. I just thought that looks like a good thing to do. I loved the hairstyles and the car, Grease Lightning. And so after that I asked my mum if I could go to dancing lessons. Or she sort of just saw my reaction to the film and took me to dancing lessons. And then after dancing lessons, I trained to be a dancer for a while, and then I realised I wasn't ever going to be a great dancer, and realised I kind of enjoyed talking as well as moving, and then and then decided to be an actor. So it's all John Travolta's fault, really. Okay, so my character name in London's Burning was Pete, and I was playing a character who was working in a pine stripping, like stripping old paint off wooden doors, and then they were obviously reselling the doors on as what we would call now vintage doors, or reconditioned, or reclaim. Yeah. So my character name was Pete. And how I got the part, it was actually, I remember it being my first television audition out of drama school. So that would have been, I think, 1994 that I auditioned for it. It might have aired the following year, the show, but I don't know how I got the part, because I remember I turned up for the audition so excited about it. This was before we all had mobile phones or email, and somehow I'd got my wires crossed, and I turned up at the casting offices and a whole day early, just a day early. Like, they had no idea what I was doing there. I think they were casting a different show. But I think I was so excited, they probably thought it was funny. And I don't actually remember having a proper audition. I just remember turning up a day early and then getting the call that I got the job. But I can't actually remember meeting the casting director, although I must have met them, but maybe not auditioned for it. As I said before, I was part of this wood stripping door refurbishment company in a little workshop, and it was myself and an older character in his 60s maybe. So I remember turning up at the workshop, the warehouse, and my business partner, it was never stated, but probably like an older uncle or something like that. Felt like a family business. He was full of a cold and all sniffles and not feeling great. So we sort of established what the work was, which was stripping doors with caustic soda. Is that it? I mean, it wasn't really what it was meant to be. It was a prop. So some kind of acid, and that was the job I was doing, dunking these doors into this acid bath, then removing them. So we sort of established that, a bit of action there, me getting on with jolly, like singing as I worked, and the other fella was upstairs in the office, feeling worse for wear, full of a cold. And then I say I'm going to go out and get some I don't know, get something to eat, maybe. I can't remember. And for some stupid reason, or for the reasons of the plot, when I leave the warehouse, I lock him in. I don't quite know why I do that, but it becomes important later on. Now then, the older fella, full of a cold, he has the Calagas heater burning downstairs in the workshop, and I can't remember what he chucks near the burner. It might be a handkerchief or a rag or something. Anyway, he's careless with something that is going to catch on fire, and indeed it does catch on fire. So then we cut to some other scenes in the show when it's broadcast, and then when we come back, we see this rag set alight, and then a bit later on, by the time I've come back, it's got dark, and I can see the building is on fire. I've just remembered it's not me that locks the door. That doesn't make any sense. It's the older fella. When I go out, he comes downstairs and double locks himself in. Why he would, I don't know. So when I come back, I can't get in. So the other fella's locked the door, and is probably smoke asphyxiated, or he's maybe been knocked out by the amount of smoke. And then the next thing I know is the fire squad is turning up, but I can't remember. I don't think it was anything to do with me. The call that was made, that's unclear in the story. Like, I don't know that they arrive, but I don't think I ever phoned them. So somebody's seen the fire go in, and somebody's notified the fire crew arrive, and yeah, and then they sort of deal with it. There's a lot of charging about. I think 2 fire wagons turn up. I do a lot of shouting and bad acting, and and then the story progresses that they enter, I think, through a broken window, one of the workshop. They get in, and one of the young firefighters drops into the acid bath. So that was my involvement. It was quite, I mean, for a first telejob, it was quite exciting, really. It was a lot going on. And it was a night shoot, which, that was exciting. So that was my involvement, as I remember it. If my memory serves me right, we did it all in one night, so it was overnight. It was a night shoot. I don't remember having any rehearsals. In fact, what I remember happening was meeting the older actor who was playing the sort of business partner in the door stripping business, and maybe we sort of talked through the scenes with the director, and sort of had a bit of rehearsal, but on set, on location. And for the sort of more exciting dramatic scenes when the fire crew turned up, I know that I definitely didn't have any rehearsals, and I remember asking somebody, maybe the second assistant director or the director, saying, "Are we going to rehearse that scene?" And they were like, no, they'll just turn up, all the blue lights flashing, and you'll just get on with it. So I remember thinking, I have no idea who I'm talking to, but I think that was deliberate. They did that deliberately, so it kind of looked authentically like I was in a panic, because I pretty much was. It was the first time I met all the actors who were playing the fire crew was when they arrived at 60 miles an hour down the Road at Woolwich Arsenal, and they got out, and I was just acting with them. And I think maybe we did some retakes, but the thing is, when you're filming something with fire, there isn't much time to do retakes really. And I know for certain they only arrived once in the fire wagons, because once they got them into place, backing them up and redoing all of that. So it was pretty much all the external stuff once the building's on fire was, let's go, we've got to do this. And I know there was some preparation for some of the sort of stunts, like some things fell down. So we wouldn't have done that in a rush, but there wasn't much time to get it right. Yeah, it was just one night. Not really knowing who anybody was, and that I think by the time I did the show, it was already quite well established, series 8. So, but it was not something that I was following. I remember everybody being kind and nice and polite, but to them, it was just another night shoot with another, visiting actor. It was coming in and coming out. So I don't really remember much about having conversations with the actors. I just remember getting on with it, and it was quite quick, really. Good fun, but very quick. I mean, it was nothing extraordinary. I think, again, they were all very nice in costume and makeup, as they always are. And I got a memory of them kitting me out with long johns and thermal vests to go on under my costume, because they knew it was going to be a night shoot. And yeah, it was just kind of scruffy jeans, a kind of like a sort of bomber jacket and a woolly hat. It was scruffs really, because of the work my character was meant to be doing. So I don't think too much thought was put into what I was going to wear ever. It was just that's looks like clothes he wouldn't mind messing up in an acid workshop. I remember, I think probably because I was nervous, when I was doing the manual acting the job of dipping doors into acid, I remember just sort of making the choice to do some singing, and after it I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that, because maybe they'll run into problems with musical performance rights that they might have to pay out, because I sang the song Don do 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 My Girl da 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 da, and just sort of off the top of my head humming that tune. And what I thought was really clever is when I came to see the episode, however long afterwards, the sound department had put a radio, they'd sort of overdubbed the sound of a radio in the workshop, and they'd put the tune on. And luckily I wasn't too out of tune, even though there was no music to sing along to. Yeah, and any other memories? It was funny, when you sent me the episode, I've obviously not seen it for 30 years. I showed my kids, which was quite funny. One of them's an actor now, and but they were laughing because, of course, I think it was called London's Burning, and in the first few scenes that I'm in, I'm sort of doing it a bit, all right, mate, like trying to do my best kind of London Cockney accent. And then when it all kicks off and the fire happens and there's bits of timber falling down, and I just revert to my northern accent. When the fire crew come, I don't sustain the London accent. I just sort of become a bit northern, which was not great acting. I didn't, I just went back to my kind of native accent. Hopefully, with all the drama going on, nobody noticed. But my kids did. They were like, "Why are you doing it in a London accent and then you sort of go to a northern accent?" And I was like, "Because I was a terrible actor." I'm still in the world of performance and acting. I met my wife at drama school at Guildhall, and now we live up here in Lancashire, and we've got a small theatre company, so we make work together. Sometimes children's plays, sometimes community plays. So we plan to make some more work together in the future. But alongside that, I'm also a member of the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain, which has happened relatively recently, a couple of years ago. So along with acting and making theatre with my wife, I tour the world with a ukulele orchestra. Yeah, that's what's happening. At the moment, I've got some gigs coming up in the UK and then America and Canada and also Germany, playing. Yeah, which is a lot of fun playing with a band. Andy, it's been a pleasure and really nice to meet you.